struck at is whether we mitigate, guard or embrace AI. And I think what we're talking about is how does the recruitment process adapt to deal with AI, and how do we think that we're going to perhaps accept the inevitability of change but have a way of mitigating that. And to your earlier point, I think you perhaps referred to the fact that we don't have enough data yet to judge the impact of AI on recruitment. It hasn't simply been going, if you've only been having it since 2022, 23, really in anger, I guess, in the recruitment sphere. We haven't got much data to work from. So going forward, how do we think that the recruitment industry and the talent assessment industry is going to tackle AI? Are we going to go more vintage, Becky, or Tom, are we going to have a blended approach, or Bertie, are we going to find new, cleverer ways of managing this? Whoever wants to start can start.
I mean, I think it's probably going to be a combination of many things, to be brutally honest. I think, do we accept it, do we mitigate it, or do we embrace it? I think was your statement at the start. Well, I think we've got to accept it. I don't think there's any way we can say it's not going to happen, and it is going to happen. So we've got to accept that it's going to happen. Do we embrace it? Well, maybe we do, and it's depending whether you're looking at it from an assessor perspective and using AI to improve the way that you assess candidates, or whether it's from a candidate's perspective and you're saying, well, the candidates are going to be using this to make themselves look the best for the particular role. So there are certainly ways that we can mitigate against candidates, presenting themselves or enhancing their credentials, or if you like, their suitability for a particular role using AI. It's a difficult one because, I mean, in many ways, what's different between now, sort of 10 years ago or 5 years ago, a candidate going onto Google and searching, I'm looking for a job in this, that would have given the answers, maybe not quite as accurately or quite as effectively as a current generative AI solution will. But, it was always there. We talk about enhancement of CVs. Again, there used to be companies that would do that, or individuals would help you get that thing there. I think we've got to that peak point now where you obviously go back to your point about the CVs all looking the same. I mean, it's a bit like if you look at websites now, pretty much websites now all look the same. They're very rare do you see a different website design. There is what is known to be the best standard layout for a website. So they all tend to look very similar. And then you're looking then at the little flourishes, maybe the little difference in design, colour, style, whatever it might be, to actually differentiate. So, but the actual structure. So I think if you're looking at the CV structure, that's always going to be pretty much standardised now. And you've probably got a best case to that structure will be well adopted by the recruiter. So you'll know where to go and find the information that you need to quickly assess that candidate, for example. So I know that there'll be a section here under education. I can go straight to that, see what the educational qualifications that candidate got. So
the CV, do you think in future perhaps become more of a validation tool to check the hard facts?
Well, we have CVs.
Yeah, well,
another question.
But are they going to be just purely there so you can check academics? Because obviously that's you can't tweak an academic record. You either have that result or you don't. So
a large proportion of candidates do. It's been known that they do exaggerate on CVs. I've heard this before.
That would surely be fall foul of your integrity.
But again, then again, I suppose you come into things like that. There are ways that you can assess very quickly whether a candidate has actually got that degree that they've stated on there, or they've got those A-level score results.
Yeah.
And that you don't need a CV for potentially. You would just say, you'd have an online form. They would say, I've got this score, these A-levels from this college, or this degree from this university. And then I think there are tools. I know there was a company that was speaking at one of the events we were at earlier in the year, and they can do a background check to validate that information.
There's lots of them, aren't
there? And that's really the only way that you can really then validate, yes, they really did go to Exeter University and they got an econ degree from there.
So are CVs a thing of the past or a thing of the future?
Personally, I've always thought they're just a historical document written by the
person they're writing about. Worrying scenario you could think about. We all have our mobile phones, smart watches, whatever, sensors that collect data all the time. You could imagine that data being used instead of a CV because it's the real data. Could be the real data. Again, this can be meddled with.
We'd have to have a chat about that.
But and of course there's massive privacy issues around that. But it's an idea to use.
In early careers we don't have CVs anyway, right? So I think this is more professional hiring and executive recruitment. Some early careers teams do have CVs, but generally in the large volume environments, the CVs were a thing of the past. I think we have to do all of it. We have to embrace, we have to mitigate, and we need to detect. any risks. And I think with the opportunity of predictive analytics and thinking about how do we use AI to really look at the workforce and how does TA move more into the talents arena. I think the role of TA will broaden fundamentally because actually it's becoming more efficient now with AI. So I think this idea of predicting success is going to be really important. But one thing I would say, which I'm quite curious about, and I don't know the answer right now, is, companies that have adopted AI for screening right now and effectively are presenting those shortlists to hiring managers, what is the feedback that we're getting from those hiring managers? Will there come a point where they're fed up with seeing the same type of candidate? We all know that when you have those hiring manager meetings, they want diversity. They want diversity representation, diversity of thought. And actually, is the current model or the current approach to AI producing that? Is that going to align to performance-based outcomes or organizational success and growth and hyper-growth and enable differentiation across different organizations? Because fundamentally companies differentiate on people, not on their technologies, is on the service that they give. So I think that there will be a point in time soon where a reflection or an inflection point where people will be thinking about what kind of feedback are we actually receiving from the business. And I'm quite interested in that because what I'm seeing at the moment is that there seems to be lots of screening out of great talent using AI potentially.
And is it affecting the diversity of the business ecology effectively, isn't it? Is it having an impact? And I guess until it's run a few more cycles, perhaps you won't have enough data.
And the business may want to go back vintage, right? Because they want to see. So the other point is that lots of coming out of COVID, the trends change where before COVID we were in person. In COVID we were fully online. We're now blend. So we're now digital online, hybrid and in person. So recruitment's become way more complicated, and now the business wants to see candidates because actually they miss connecting with candidates, the lack of loyalty as well. So in order to hook that candidate in, they want to also meet with business leaders because it's about differentiation around meeting people and extracting that value from that human interaction. So I think the trend is actually moving more towards vintage-based hiring. But
do you think that's predominantly in the early years or early career
I think across
space,
the whole of recruitment, I think that people want to meet candidates and candidates want to be met as well. So candidates do not want to be treated fully in an online format.
No.
It does not inspire loyalty or engagement. It will increase your renege rate. So I think that there's a balance to be met, and how do we actually now develop the new normal, given we've got AI, we've got coming out of COVID, and we've got the requirement from young people and also all demographics to go back into like a more human type setting.
I think the answer is probably a mix. And while your original question, embracing AI definitely, I think, is a yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And one might have been tempted to say, mitigating should also be a yes, and maybe guarding against also a yes. There's massive problems with both of those, and one could see there was a ChatGPT ban in Italy soon after ChatGPT became very popular, and it wasn't available from Italian IP addresses, which led to a visible dip in productivity for programmers there. But that lasted only for a week, and they found a workaround. They realised, we can VPN out, and that will be the same with any other thing.
And that's the point: is that whatever you've built now in your recruitment process to mitigate, within the next 12 months, that will be obsolete. So the technology is racing ahead, and we're actually behind. So whatever we develop, the likelihood is that there isn't longevity, or it needs to constantly evolve.
But where I said a bit of everything is really the answer, and that's what big technology companies in their recruitment processes have been using for years. We hear complaints from our students who sometimes have to sit in-person exams, handwritten, and they have to write code. And we tell them, well, this is nothing you shouldn't expect to be doing, because those big technology companies, they will require you to stand there in an interview and develop code, write code, perfect code, ideally, on a whiteboard. So that's just the same situation. They won't allow you to sit at a computer and type it, where you might have access to resources like Copilot or so. So they have been using, of course, assessment centres as well, but they diversify their recruitment technology.
I think where AI is also very interesting is on this idea of personalisation. So, if you can use AI to help certain talent pools to achieve more in a recruitment process, and to prescribe certain experiences to those candidates based on a lack of learning or a capability gap, or some sort of positive learning opportunity, I think that's where AI could be very, very valuable. So, for example, if you're a student that has not had the opportunity of a work experience or an internship, and perhaps has come from a more of a disadvantaged setting, but yet an organisation could prescribe certain opportunities that will allow the levelling of the playing field, I think, and personalisation, or perhaps it could be certain demographics, for example, in our recruitment process are less likely to do well because of confidence, and this is around specific ethnicities, for example, and also women tend to perform less well in cognitive tests that we saw, and that's across many organisations. So I think in that situation, the ability to prescribe really great experiences that are personalised to certain demographics would be a really great opportunity going forwards.
I think AI tools finding job opportunities could play a big role in opening up opportunities for underrepresented groups. So what's been found in studies quite regularly is that if there are requirements for a job application, male applicants typically are more happy to say, well, I don't fulfill all of those requirements, but I'll apply anyway. And females wouldn't. But if you use AI to encourage females to still look at those opportunities, I think that would be a great tool.
And you could also use AI, for example, from an attraction point of view. So thinking about redirecting talent pools from certain industries into your industry, for example. So being attractive on certain career, job portals, for example. So I think there's an opportunity here, but I think this idea of contextualization is really important. So how do we use AI to really benefit recruitment and to really start to bring different talent pools? And at the moment, efficiency point of view, as opposed to from a contextual point of view.